Hello guys and welcome back to Equi Edge Research where we share cutting edge insights for you on the automobile sector, overall economy and decode stock market psychologies. So guys, today we are going to talk in this particular video about revenues, more precise profitability ratios, etc. To be precise, I'm a student of Parth Verma sir, he's my mentor, and I have joined his equity research cohort, and I have been learning it since last 4 to 5 6 months. And what he says is, you have to be a lifelong learner if you want to be a good investor. You have to have two qualities that is most essential to become a good investor. The first one is to be a lifelong learner, and the second one is to be a lifelong better, good, efficient reader. And these both of the skills can be mastered with the course of time if you have lot of effort, if you have got lot of effort to put in. So what he says is, when any investors come in the market and they find a particular XYZ companies based on the prerequisites that they have as their analysis, what happens is the first thing that they look is the fundamentals. When they start fundamental analysis in the financial statement analysis, the first thing that they look at is the revenue. Now what happens is there are two spectacles, और what we can say दो अलग अलग चश्मे हैं जिससे दो अलग अलग टाइप के इंसान उस पर्टिकुलर एक चीज़ को देखते हैं, दो अलग अलग अप्रोचेस. When we talk about the retail approach, they just look at revenues, they are in growth trajectory and they just make a call. But when we talk about smart money, it has really something different. And the most important thing is, why corporates make money or why institutions make money. The first one is they have information asymmetry. The second and most important thing, they have good set of formulas or good set of numbers that they have to put in together that gives them results. They make research comparatively more as compared to that of retailer. You know what smart money does? They measure profitability ratios, they measure uh, margins. So we are going to look at it. We are also going to discuss a case study based on that. So when we talk about revenues and understanding how the things are working, there are different line items, and don't feel fear about it. When I started things, I was more fearful as compared to any other student in the cohort, right? I'll be explaining you in a very simpler manner that एक एक प्रॉफिट होता है, एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉफिट है, और उसमें से धीरे धीरे खर्चा माइनस करेंगे और तो फिर फाइनली हमें नेट प्रॉफिट मिलेगा. सो व्हाट हैपेंस इज, वी हैव रेवेन्यूज एंड देन वी सब्ट्रैक्ट COGS फ्रॉम दैट एंड नाउ वी गॉट द ग्रॉस प्रॉफिट. व्हाट इज COGS? किसी भी वस्तु को बनाने की लागत, राइट? अगर आप चॉकलेट बना रहे हैं, आपने 100 रुपये की चॉकलेट बेची, तो 100 रुपये में से अगर आपका 40 रुपया, 50 रुपया, 60 रुपया अगर लागत लगा, इट इंक्लूड्स शुगर, syrups, it includes your cocoa beans, etc. So that is lagat, that is COGS. Once we subtract that, we get gross profit. After that, when we subtract SG&A from gross profit, we get EBITDA. Once we got EBITDA, and then we will subtract the further जो खर्चे हैं आगे के, will subtract amortization and depreciation. Once we do that, we get EBIT. Once we get EBIT, we decrease or subtract interest cost, and then we get EBT, that is known as earning before taxations. As soon as we subtract tax from EBT, we get PAT, that is profit after tax. Once this profit after tax is been divided by a total number of shareholders, that is the book value, or what we can say, that is the book value of that particular share. Okay, we got all the line items. Maybe we all have seen Shark Tank, so there should not be a problem in understanding or thinking about these terms, but we'll be moving a little bit inside these things. So today we are going to discuss on the gross margins. So what happens is, when we look at gross margins, what are gross margins? Whenever we sold a particular product, we just get the cost of goods sold out of it, and we get the gross margins. This states that how well a business is doing out of revenue once the cost of goods, मतलब जो लागत लगाई है उसको हटा दे तो. So generally, these gross margins are very much better for the manufacturing and OEM businesses, that is original equipment manufacturing businesses, that shows the operating excellencies and the overall product mix, etc. So we are going to get deep dive into this. So there are a lot of things that really affect these margins. So we have a formula for a gross profit, that is that is revenue minus COGS upon revenue into 100, and then you will get your gross profit margin, right? So we are going to talk about how these gross profit margins are affected by different things. So we are going to talk about a case study, and the name of the company is Honasa Consumer Limited, the company behind what we say, maybe Mamaearth, and Derma company and Aqualogica, etc. So what happens is, uh, when we talk about Honasa, if we talk about its problem statement, it was first started as an online business and it had a lot of concentration of sales in the online business. Now, what is the problem with online businesses and not moving to offline businesses? Is that when you sell things online, you have 3 to 4 certain costs. The first and the most important cost is the commission that has been taken by the platform where you sell. The second is giving out heavy discounts time to time. That is really necessary for businesses like this. Um, Third is you have lot of promotional events and promotional marketing expenses that you have to do, as compared to that when you establish a good wholesale, or what we can say, when we establish a good supply chain with distributors that are also maybe the in-house company distributors, or what we can say is company equipped original showrooms, or we can have third party distributors. The gross margins were really affecting. And so what our ma'am, who is the co-founder, Ghazal Alak, what she thought is, what she wanted to do was, she wanted to make balance sheet look more good. She wanted that the PAT should keep increasing, whereas the sales maybe or may not be growing, that's okay. कि पैड बढ़ना चाहिए, सेल्स उतना नहीं बढ़ेगा तो चलेगा. So how these particular things has been done, that we are going to learn. So the first and most important thing is the portfolio mix. So we are going to read, the earlier sales were skewed towards the lower margin categories. So when we talk about Honasa Consumer Limited, and when we are going to talk specifically about Mamaearth, there are a lot of products, personal care products, right? So there are face washes, there are different balms, there are different serums, etc. So what happens is, you have a product portfolio. So when you have a product portfolio and you have 4, 5, 6, 7 products, and based on different products they have different price ranges and different margins. So what happened is, in the earlier time they were selling online, due to which their gross margins came into pressure, whereas when they started establishing their offline distribution chain, they got 3 or 4 factors at leverage. The first one is the channel mix, that when they went to the offline channel, they could sell or give out more products into the market, or inject more products into the market. They get economies of scale as leverage, or operating leverage, what we can say, and the per unit cost of every item decreases for the distributor as well as for the uh, original equipment manufacturer. So what used to happen was online के अंदर sales and promotion was being done on a large scale, and we have to do timely, and it has volatility in nature. Whereas when we come to the offline sales, the margins or the profit share that has been given to the distributors are not really lot of volatile, and you don't need a lot of promotional expenses. That's where they saved a little bit of gross margins there. This and what we talked about the portfolio mix. First, what was happening was most of the sales were coming out from face washes. Let's suppose from face washes, and the cost of face washes was 200 rupees. So even if we try to find out the margins, that is comparatively low to the serum which is sold at 600 rupees. In the online sales, in order to sell 600 rupees, we need customer acquiring cost, we need to give heavy discounts, we need to do marketing, we need to do everything. Whereas when we come to offline stores, it is now the responsibility of the distributor as well as retailer or the pharmacist who is selling it, right? So overall cost there decreases, right? The next thing is scale leverage on overheads. At first, when we talk about the supply chain of Honasa Consumer Limited, they used to have a super distributor, then sub distributors to retailers, right? But now what they are trying is to cutting off layers of the super distributor and making them direct distributors. That is very much important in order to improve control. Because what happens is uh, when they have super distributors, right? They have to give more margins, right? मतलब उसको भी margin देना है, then you have to give it to the retailers also. So what they did it, they directly cut them and they made them direct distributors and not super distributor, because sometimes it may happen that super distributor may make changes in the price. Also, the Honasa Consumer Limited didn't had transparency at the side of distributors that माल बिक रहा है कि नहीं बिक रहा है. Most of the times what happens in these type of businesses is the goods are sold on credit, but when the goods are sold on credit and they are not being sold in the offline sales, right, or they are not being sold to the retailers properly, or there is less amount of demand which is not known by Honasa Consumer Limited, and the stocks get expired, that is the responsibility of the company. So they also made offline sales focus. The fourth one is the input cost softening and inventory management. The input cost softening matlab the raw material, whatever XYZ chemicals that are being needed for creating a raw materials for serum or maybe face wash, the rates of those raw materials has been soft, and hence maybe sometimes most of the times when these raw material rates are getting down, the company they usually uh, take lot of raw materials as raw inventory for them, which also increase their gross margins as देखो कैसा होता है, for suppose there is a product that has been sold at 100 rupees, and the gross margin is 70 rupees, that is 70%. But what happened is now the same raw material cost has been reduced, and the same could be done more, right? अब उतना नहीं हो रहा है, तो now your fixed cost has been decreased, and so now you get a gross profit of 72 rupees. Now that is 72%, that is a growth of 200 basis points. So did you understand how three or four things really affect things, right? Now if we see the long term impacts, but before looking at long term impacts, we have also a factor that has to be taken into measure, that is the inventory management. You see, inventory management is also very much necessary, and that is what they are trying to achieve efficiencies through cutting off the super distributors. Why? Because there was no transparency. What was the demand from the retail, how much the amount of goods has been sold. So that was creating an imbalance between the demand and supply, and sometimes the super distributors were over channel stuffed. मतलब they were overstuffed by the company, and अगर sales होता नहीं था, those products get expired. This was the gap. Okay, so these were 3 to 4 things that really affected the gross margins of the company. There could be some potential risks also. Let us talk about risks also. Wait. See the category softness. Sunscreen demand. What we say category softness. Raw material cost. The first one is category softness. Sometimes it may happen that the demand for raw material or the demand for serums may be decreased. So when that thing happens, the product mix, the demand for that particular product in the product mix gets decreased, and there the gross margins could get decreased. The second one is the raw material cost. Now suppose, think about it, you sold one thing at 100 rupees and you got a gross profit of 70. Suddenly the raw material price increased, and now your fixed cost is more, it's 32 rupees, and hence your profits has been decreased. It came to 68%. That is a fall of 200 basis points. That is 2%. That is what we have to learn. The third one is offline expansion, trade margin खर्च होए तो short term margin pressure आ भी सके. You see, when we talk about the offline sales or creating of offline channels, we need a heavy capital intensity for making the infrastructure and getting the good dealers and creating a good supply chain. So basically these could be the costs that are not fixed but variable in nature, and I feel that is a one time cost. So when you move into the market more and make more volume, these costs will be getting diluted. So there are 3 or 4 more things that we need to understand that really affect the gross margins. They could be the volumes, it could be barrier of entries, it could be technology, it could be uniqueness or moat, what we can say. It is very important for any company to survive in the market, and if it is a market leader, you have to understand this, that it has lot of patents and as well as lot of moats. Let us take an example of Maruti Suzuki India Limited. It has 2 or 3 modes. The first and the most important mode is its collaboration with Suzuki Motor Japan, because Japanese quality and Japanese research has been quite better as compared to any other research and R&D in the automobile sector. Second and most important thing is economies of scale, right? They have much of production capacities as compared to any other companies who has been established in India.